Some of the possible effects of climate change, but now let's turn to what could be some of the causes. In the United States, the New York Attorney General is investigating whether the oil company ExxonMobil misled the public and shareholders about the risks to the business from climate change. Environmental campaigners say Exxon's own scientists raised concerns about global warming decades ago, but were ignored by company executives. Exxon insists the information was included in reports to shareholders. With me is Daniel Litvtin, who is Managing Director of Critical Resource, an organisation which advises energy companies on sustainability. Thanks so much for coming in, Daniel. These are serious allegations. Just tell us a little bit more.
They are, and they're part of, I guess, a growing movement to target big oil, gas and also coal companies on climate change. Whatever the truth of the allegations, and I'm certainly not in a position to comment on that, but it's part of a momentum of pressure. It was started, I guess, with the environmental NGO movement. It moved on to investors, and there's a growing number of investors who are quizzing oil, gas and coal companies about the climate impacts of their operations. Governments are putting more pressure on the companies, and now this is interesting development of a government prosecutor taking a case. The heat is on the companies, and the big question is, how do they respond? And we, as Critical Resource, we're pioneering an initiative to try and get the companies to take the issue seriously, look at their business models. What does it really mean for how they might operate, not just next year, because fossil fuel demand is there. It's probably going to grow a bit, certainly in parts of the world. But in the coming decades, what does this mean for a fossil fuel company? Do they have any future in a world that is moving away from fossil fuels? It
just shows the kind of shift in attitude, because as I just said, read there a second ago, that scientists raised these concerns decades ago, but it's just the sort of shift in attitude and business practices now.
Things are shifting, and from the perspective of these big companies, their attitude is shifting as well. I think certainly internally in past years and past decades, there was a huge amount of scepticism about climate science. That is there to a degree, but I think certainly in the public pronouncements of almost all of the major companies, they say climate change they're taking it seriously. And indeed, they have got a growing range of good initiatives. However, the big question is, are they taking it seriously enough? Are they looking seriously enough at their business models and what may need to change in that respect?
Because, you know, it's long come under criticism from environmentalists and science groups for funding climate denial groups as well.
That's up to Exxon to comment on. Without a doubt, the oil industry in the past has been pretty resistant to this notion that there is a problem out there. I think most serious people in the industry now recognise there is a problem. The question, again, is do we tinker around, or do the companies tinker around the edges? Do they invest a little bit in renewable? Do they make the right public noises? Or do they look even more fundamentally at what it means for their business?
Indeed. Daniel, thanks so much for coming in.